Time after time, police have relied on undercover officers and informants to bring down major criminals. Being a rat is one of the most dangerous jobs on the planet, and one small mistake can blow their cover. But what happens when criminals discover that they have an informant in their midst? What happens when they realize that the person they thought they could trust is actually working with the police? Things go very bad, very quickly. In 2013, a college student in North Dakota named Andrew Sadiq agreed to be an informant for the police. On June 27th of 2014, he was found dead in the Red River with a gunshot wound to the head. The obvious assumption is that Sadiq was killed by criminals who discovered that he was working with the police. But is that what really happened? Let's find out. Andrew Sadiq was born on November 22nd of 1993 in Valley City, North Dakota. Raised on a cattle farm, Andrew experienced tragedy as a child when his 18-year-old older brother was killed by a train. Although he was shy and quiet, he graduated from high school and subsequently attended the North Dakota State College of Science in 2012. Although he wanted to become an electrician, he was also attracted by another occupation during his college years: dealing drugs. Sadiq sold marijuana to various customers in the parking lots of his school. After about a year, this side hustle proved to be his downfall. Andrew unwittingly sold marijuana on 2 occasions to a student who was actually working as a confidential informant for the local police. It should be noted that Andrew sold less than $100 worth of weed to this informant, a minuscule amount by all accounts. His dorm room was searched, but police were only able to find marijuana residue. Sadiq wasn't arrested or charged with a crime despite admitting that the drugs were his. The next day, he was asked to come to the Richland County Sheriff's Office.
How's it going today?
Alright.
It's your birthday today. Probably not what you want to be doing on your birthday, huh? Alright. Did you tell your roommate what you had going on? Alright, that's probably a good thing. Alright, well, you expressed interest that you probably want to help yourself out.
Yeah.
Okay, like I said, you're facing 2 felonies, and then of course a misdemeanor charge from yesterday. 2 felonies of deliveries since they took place on campus, both of them. They're enhanced, so they're Class A felonies. 20 years in prison, $20,000 fine, and are both. Okay, so potentially the max is 40 years in prison, $40,000 fine. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, you're probably not going to get 40 years, but is it a good possibility that you're going to get some prison time? If you don't help yourself out, yeah, there it is.
Obviously, this officer is trying to scare Andrew into thinking he's going to spend decades in prison, possibly missing out on the best years of his life. Is that a possibility? Sure. But with a qualified, experienced criminal defense attorney, Andrew actually has a strong chance of never seeing the inside of a jail cell. According to North Dakota law, selling weed is indeed a felony, regardless of the amount. Even though Andrew sold less than $100 worth of marijuana, he would still face the same penalty as someone who sold $10,000 worth. Of course, his sentence would be a judge's opinion, and he likely wouldn't face decades in prison for selling such a small amount. However, things get a little more complex, because Sadiq sold weed within 1,000 feet of a school. This is considered an aggravating factor. and it means that he was facing a maximum penalty of 20 years per offense, for a total of a 40-year potential sentence. But even taking these factors into account, a North Dakota judge may look at Sadiq and decide to have mercy. After all, he's a college student who is studying to be an electrician. He's not a career criminal, and he's probably selling weed to earn a little extra cash while he focuses on his studies. If Sadiq had pled guilty, he would have had a decent chance of pursuing an alternate sentencing program, like a suspended or deferred sentence. This would have meant probation for Sadiq, but he might never have been incarcerated. A criminal defense attorney might have proven that the police were guilty of some kind of misconduct during their investigation, forcing all charges to be dropped. So all in all, things aren't really as bad as Andrew thinks, but as you'll see, the police successfully scare him into doing something extremely dangerous. Even if he had been forced to go to prison, he probably would have been safer inside a cell. Let's continue.
That's probably not a way to start off your young adult life and career, right? So, what I'm going to ask for you to do is to do some buys for me then. Okay, where you'd have to wear a wire, you'd have to go buy marijuana from individuals, and then, you know, depending upon how you do and so forth, you know, a lot of this could go away. You know, is it all going to go away? Probably not. Are you going to probably have to plead guilty to like maybe a misdemeanor possession of marijuana? Probably, you know. But at least you're not pleading guilty to felonies. Okay, is that fair enough?
Very fair.
Okay.
The officer is offering to reduce his felony to a misdemeanor, but he might have been able to accomplish this on his own by simply navigating the legal system effectively and working with a qualified attorney. Make no mistake, this is a bad deal, and he should have consulted with a lawyer before moving forward.
Is there individuals that you know on campus or around town or whatever that you can buy from?
There's one chick that sells out of the campus apartments that I know of.
Who's that?
I'm not sure the name, but I have quite a few buddies that buy from her.
Okay, who are those buddies?
Well, just one. Yeah.
Okay. Do you know where this gal lives?
Kind of.
Okay, where does she live at?
You know where Stop and Go, the apartment's right across the street.
Yep.
She lives, I want to say, one of the first two on the, I get a piece of paper, draw you a little map. Another big apartment building over here. I wouldn't say she lives in this one or this one.
Okay, this is 16th Avenue?
Yep, the Stop and Go's right here.
Okay, and she lives in one of these?
Yep.
Okay. You don't know her name?
No.
Okay. Have you ever bought from her?
Indirectly.
Indirectly, like you bought from a buddy that bought from her, or what?
My buddy money, and he went in there and
Okay. Anybody else you can buy from?
in town.
Yep.
Not in this town.
What other town can you buy in?
Fargo.
Okay. What do you know in Fargo? Okay. How much can you get from him?
You can get quite a bit.
What's quite a bit?
Like 3 ounces of time.
Okay. Would it be uncommon for you to buy that much though?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if you went and bought that much, would it be like, what the hell?
Probably. Maybe, I don't know.
If you went and bought an ounce,
That would be more reasonable.
that'd be more reasonable to say you're trying to sell, make some money on campus?
Yeah.
Okay. We could probably entertain that idea, you know, setting you up with Fargo. That's a different task force, but if you're willing to help them out, then, you know, I'd give you credit down here.
Yeah.
Or, you can't buy from anybody else?
Not, like, I have a lot of people that I can talk to and find out buyers, but no.
Okay. Because you're going to have to do more than just 2 people to get that, you know, the felony levels down.
I understand.
You know, I mean, time is time is not a problem. You're here for next semester, right?
And all next year.
And all of next year.
Most likely, yes.
Okay. Well, I don't want to drag it out all next year,
Right.
but I mean, you know, we could drag this out, you know, into after Christmas type deal, you know, but I don't want to drag it out into next year.
Yeah, I understand.
So let's get back to this gal.
I could just,
Okay.
that would help probably quite a bit.
What if he says, well, I'll just get it for you? Or you just give me the money? Okay.
Andrew is being remarkably cooperative, and within minutes he has provided the officer with the names of various individuals in the drug trade.
What do you guys normally just meet up in a parking lot in Fargo or something? Or?
Yeah, gas station.
Okay. What's he drive?
Some days it's a silver Fusion, and other days it's a black SUV.
Okay. Well, I'll sign you up, and then it's up to you to make your contacts, okay, and go from there. You know, you got 2 felonies hanging over your head, so we're gonna look at probably doing each individual we have to do 2 deals on. Okay, so you're gonna have to do 2 deals on per individual, and then we're gonna be looking at probably, you know, 3 or 4 individuals that you're gonna have to do. Okay.
Okay.
Is that fair enough?
Okay.
I mean, it sounds like you already got 2 for sure that you can do. It's just a matter of doing 2 more.
Alright.
And like I said, we'll give you the time to do it, you know, relatively speaking. I don't want it to go into the summer, obviously, and stuff.
Yeah.
But we want to, the faster we can get it cleared up, the faster you can get it cleared up. Do you understand?
I understand.
So, we just got some paperwork that we're going to do real quick. And then we'll get you rolling.
So, just to be clear, Andrew has to target 3 or 4 drug dealers, and he has to buy from each of them twice. That's a total of 8 sales. Criminals may have their faults, but they're not stupid. They notice patterns. After 2 or 3 individuals are arrested immediately after selling to Andrew, they'll know something is up. Asking him to set up so many people is extremely dangerous. At some point, there's a strong chance that the dealers will know that he is probably an informant. The police officer assures this college student that he doesn't want to drag this out, implying that he's trying to do Andrew a favor. But in reality, he knows that Andrew can only pull off so many controlled buys before the whole operation becomes way too obvious.
Do you use anything other than marijuana? Have you tried anything other than marijuana?
Yeah.
What have you all tried?
Just LSD.
LSD?
Yeah.
How'd you like that?
Didn't like it at all.
Where'd you get that at?
From my buddy in Fargo.
Okay. So you could buy some LSD in Fargo? Or can you buy anything other than marijuana? Not saying it's for you, but could you go say it's for a buddy?
I could try.
Okay.
That contact opened up.
Okay. What's your social security number?
If Andrew Sadiq suddenly shows up in Fargo wanting to buy way more weed than usual, plus a bunch of LSD, the dealer is going to be extremely suspicious. But this officer doesn't seem to care. It's surprising that Sadiq isn't voicing any concerns about this entire situation. How will they ensure his safety? Can't he just sell to 2 people instead of 4? The truth is, Sadiq is still very young, and he's probably extremely scared about the possibility of going to prison. He accepts everything without a single protest.
Have you ever been arrested before? As an adult?
No.
Once again, it's worth noting that Andrew has no criminal record. He is a first-time offender. If he had simply exercised his rights and spoken with an attorney, he would have learned that the courts were highly likely to take mercy on him. Judges often work extremely hard to rehabilitate first-time offenders and give them a second chance. Andrew didn't have to do this.
Any brothers or sisters?
Not living.
Okay. You had
Deceased brother.
a deceased brother? What happened there?
He got hit by a train.
Ooh, that ain't good. How long ago?
This would be 8 years ago.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Notice the casual way in which the officer speaks about Andrew's deceased brother. Does this seem like a considerate man to you? Like someone who would think twice before putting a young college student in serious danger?
Do you understand that as a confidential informant that you are not an employee of the state of North Dakota, nor are you entitled to workman's compensation or unemployment benefits from the state of North Dakota, and will not hold the state liable for any injuries or damages incurred by your reason of association with BCI?
Yes.
This might sound like a bunch of legal jargon, but it's important. What this basically means is that if Andrew becomes injured or dies because of his work as an informant, he and his family cannot hold the police liable. This becomes a major issue after Sadiq's death.
You understand that no promises can be made to you about court appearances and that you may have to appear in court as circumstances require. Okay, what that is basically you're going to do these deals, you're our state witness, okay? If they take it to a jury trial, you may have to come back and testify against the individual that you purchased narcotics from. Do you understand that? Now, with that, I know there's some hesitation. Now, with that, I've been doing this a long time. My partners have been doing this a long time. We have never, ever had anybody come back to testify yet. The reason for that is, one, that's why we do 2 buys on an individual. It secures up the cases. It really makes them strong. So 2 things happen. One, they either take a plea agreement, or number 2, they end up working like in your situation. We might give them an opportunity to work, and then they don't have to come back, and so forth. You don't have to come back. We've never had anybody have to testify. I'm just telling you, could it happen? It could happen. We just have never had that because nobody wants to really go to a jury trial and try to chance that they're going to get 40 years in prison.
So they're not going to know that I rented them out.
Here's how we do it, okay? You're going to do the deals, okay? I'm not going to go jam them up tomorrow, okay? We wait. We're going to wait a few months, just like in your situation. You have no clue who probably ratted you out. You have no clue when this happened, okay? You probably maybe tried to think of ideas and stuff, but I'm not going to tell you, okay? That's how we're going to treat whoever you purchase from. We're going to wait a while, let them still sell to other people, and then by the time we go jam them up, they're not going to know. You know, now if you put it in a situation where you go to a restaurant that you never ever go to, and then you go buy dough from that person at a restaurant or whatever, you know, if you make it a location so specific that it's off the wall, could they figure it out? Yeah, they could. You know, when they go to a court process, could they figure it out? Possibly, but it all depends if they take the plea agreement and all that stuff. So that's where no promises can be made. Do you understand?
Yes.
So then you'd put yes in that. Dope. And then the last one, do you have any questions concerning the rules and regulations to which you will be required to?
Not at this time.
Okay, then you put no in there.
For the first time, Andrew reveals his fears. He asks what might happen if they find out he ratted them out. Unfortunately, his fears may have become his reality. Andrew kept his word and helped the police catch local drug dealers. He purchased minuscule amounts of marijuana, well under an ounce. He then stopped making contact with the police, focusing on finishing his studies and landing a job as an electrician after graduation. Sadiq was last seen on the night of April 30th in his dorm. Security cameras captured him leaving at 2 a.m. wearing jeans, a Buccaneers hoodie, and a backpack. Months went by and Andrew was nowhere to be found. Police thought he had fled in order to avoid charges, so they charged him with 2 felonies and issued a warrant for his arrest. Sadiq's parents also went to the local news and pleaded for Andrew to return home, if he was out there listening. On June 27th, Sadiq's body was found in the Red River by a police diving team who was running a training exercise. He was found with a small caliber gunshot wound to the head, and his backpack had been filled with rocks. His hoodie was missing, and he was wearing a jacket that didn't belong to him. Despite these obvious red flags, investigators immediately concluded that foul play was unlikely. If Andrew wasn't murdered, then how did he die? The only remaining possibility is suicide, and that seems extremely unlikely. First of all, Andrew showed no signs of being suicidal. He was about to graduate from college and he had his whole life ahead of him. Some argue that the pressures of being an informant became too great, and he chose to end his own life. But does that really make sense? Putting aside Andrew's total lack of suicidal thoughts or tendencies, we also have to consider the fact that his death was highly suspicious. Why would he change into a jacket he had never worn prior to shooting himself? Why would he fill up his own backpack with rocks? Why didn't he leave a note? Let's be honest here. The most likely explanation is that Sadiq was killed by drug dealers who found out he was working with the cops. Andrew's family is convinced that the police are to blame, and to be fair, they may have a point. Their son was never going to face considerable legal consequences for selling less than $100 of weed. In 2015, an episode of 60 Minutes pointed out that another North Dakota college student found himself in a very similar situation, but he declined to become an informant despite facing a possible 30 years in prison. He found a lawyer and eventually received a sentence of 2 years probation, meaning he never actually saw the inside of a cell. Andrew would have likely received an almost identical sentence. This is exactly why police officers are required to remind suspects that they have the right to remain silent and retain an attorney. It seems as though Andrew was not really made aware of his rights. If he had a better idea of the actual consequences he was facing, he probably would have never agreed to become an informant. Of course, an independent panel found that the police officers involved with Andrew's case were completely innocent and did nothing wrong. And what was all of this for? To catch a few kids buying an eighth of weed? Is that really worth risking the lives of innocent college students? What happens next? Is the goal to catch as many students as possible and turn them all into informants? Is this really the best way to catch major drug dealers? Should we even catch drug dealers? Isn't the entire point of having a police force to protect citizens, rather than using them as pawns to catch violent criminals? The family of Andrew Sadiq tried to sue the police force for wrongful death, but the case was dismissed on numerous occasions. The Supreme Court eventually concluded that because the cause of death could not be determined, the police could not be held accountable. Eventually, a Republican politician named Rick Becker introduced Andrew's Law, a new bill that would lower the penalties for possessing marijuana on campus, while also protecting informants in North Dakota. Although the bill was later toned down to please law enforcement, it eventually passed in 2017. In April of 2022, the U.S. House passed a bill that would decriminalize marijuana. Although the bill has a long way to go, it's clear that marijuana will eventually become legal in the United States at the federal level. When that moment does finally arrive, people will look back at the death of Andrew Sadiq and view it as a cruel joke. How could this young student possibly face 40 years in prison for selling a small amount of substance that is less dangerous and addictive than alcohol? They say that using marijuana is a victimless crime, but that is only partially true. There are countless victims out there. People all across the United States are targeted by excessive law enforcement policies. The drug itself doesn't kill people, but police officers are more than capable of ruining people's lives in a misguided attempt to address a problem that doesn't even exist.